Hello everyone, Gunter Talks here, and welcome back to another episode of Gunter Talks. No, seriously. Late again as usual. Me being super late into making some content for this podcast thing I've been trying to do every week, or the best I can. But I have a decent topic to talk about. And I feel like it's going to be kind of relevant because of a certain announcement that happened not too long ago before making this episode tonight. But first, let me tell you what the topic is for today. It is about music. Music. Interesting topic, I would think, because my history of music has gotten a lot deeper because of my my childhood of like growing up with different types of music, and it got deeper as I went to higher education of schooling, growing up, and it's gone to a weird hodgepodge of common interests. And before I begin, I must say that everyone has their different tastes in music, because music is pretty much super subjective. It is definitely gonna have different tastes for someone, and for that reason, I know that the types of music that I'll list off will probably not fit with certain generations or just certain people in general, and that's fine. Just because I'm not really a fan of some type of music people listen to doesn't mean that I hate them for it. And I don't think that should be a case at all. But I mean, humans are strange creatures, you know? But enough about that. That's my slight disclaimer for this particular episode. And why don't we get started with the history, like I normally do, of music. So, not music in general, my history of music. Music has been I feel like a big, strong factor inside of me when I was a kid. Mainly due to my dad being like very into music. And him, like even today, whenever I visit him, not in prison, jeez, he's my dad's currently in Alabama, so I visit him whenever I get a chance. So and to this day he still has that musical rhythm that kind of he rubbed off that I rubbed off of him, sorry. And yeah, I could definitely see where my talent of music definitely comes in. But other than that, as a child, my interest of music just kind of grew with the type of music I was listening to with my parents. For the most part, they listen to mostly the classic 80s, 90s R&B or type of Motown or those types of genres. And then my sister, when she was in high school, went to a different phase of like trying to fit in, like the phase of high school where you're trying to fit in and do stuff that is like somewhat outside your wheelhouse or something like that. My sister decided to listen to some rock music. It's mainly rock music that she grew up with in the 90s, while she was in high school. And while I was in middle school, I happened to take a gander at said, well, no, not middle school. I think I was in elementary, because there was a 10-year gap between us. So yeah, I was probably still in elementary school. And me being a curious little kid, decided to rummage through my sister's things to see that she had various rock tracks that I happened to borrow. And I've been listening and that's how I like my love of rock came to be. And yeah, um, she had albums from the greatest hits of the of Queen, and she also had Pink. She also had Pearl Jam. She had all different types of music of rock. It's mainly of the '90s and a bit of '70s, um, but it's mostly of the '90s. Um, I believe Queen was the really only old style rock band that she had. Um, but yeah, that stuck with me. That really did stuck with me, and I've been listening to it. I've been listening to that when I was growing up, and thought it was kind of weird, like growing up, like how like listening to this might have a different perception, especially me being being black, and they were mainly just not too much like prejudice type stuff. It was just kids were kind of like freaking out, not freaking. Well, they didn't know how to like kind of deal with this. Some people did. They That's how I end up being friends with them in middle school. And other times there are kids that tend to like make fun of me listening to certain songs and eventually sounding like said songs. Um, but I feel like yeah, I feel like I kind of gotten used to it super like intensely that I've decided to just really embrace it and decided to just go all out with all the rock as much as I can back growing up in middle school. That's how I was in love with extreme sports, like Tony Hawk, snowboarding, and all those type of stuff, especially like rollerblading or aggressive inline and stuff like that. I was really into that, and they all have these types of rock style songs that came up, and that continued on into high school in 2006, and that began to like spark a bigger a bigger love of rock music, just because the fact that high school is a different type of experience of fitting in, because especially when you're super different than most people, uh, and it gets harder to like find friends to be a group that don't really share your interests, um, until you find people that do, and that's how you like get to have like a nice deep bond um, for a long time. So if you're able to have those type of friends, if people are in high school or in type of education, make sure you hold on to them and try to have fun and try to establish a bond so that you'll be able to help each other in the future. Uh, but high school, high school was a nice little deep dive into my musical talent. Um, Actually, let's back up. In middle school, back then in eighth grade, uh, I decided to want to try band for the first time, mainly due to the fact that there was one particular movie that I saw, which was a notoriously like bad type film, but it was a big guilty pleasure for me. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I will say it is I feel like it will be a guilty pleasure when I still watch it. It is Drumline. Drumline with Nick Cannon. But yeah, that that's that movie was like a movie that like the plot was super weird and kind of crazy, but I kind of tuned that out because the music was pretty much driving me to like want to watch it more, and that was always my favorite part. Just the music and just the visual like camera work on the marching band themselves. That's what really hooked me instead of the like the plot, because I know the plot is terrible. The plot is indeed terrible. But I still find it a guilty pleasure. I might see if it's somewhere that I can watch it. I don't know if it's on Netflix, but I'll see if I can find it. But then in eighth grade, I started to play percussion because, of course, and I happened to have the biggest talent for percussion and made it to the honor band, or like the advanced type of band that they had in my middle school, in almost less than 6 months because of the type of talent that I have with it. And yeah, I went in, managed to got into the advanced band or / honor band in the middle school, and my love of music kind of grew ever since, especially in high school. In high school, when my music type of prowess started to like super hone itself, I was in the type of high school where band was like, it wasn't like the type of band where it would be like just play this and that, and it was like just play this, march to this beat, and just play tunes for halftime and let the cheerleaders do their thing while they play for the cheerleaders. Nah, we didn't have that. We had a type of marching band that I believe for the most part of our district, it was mainly very serious to go out and perform in various competitions, and it was very serious to where, like, to this day, my deep roots of music kind of like grew from there. And yeah, it was basically like we kind of had this like thing to where like we were most students / like people that were teachers. They were either from or they had association of Drum Corps International / DCI, which that in my eyes was kind of like professional type of marching band. Oh, that was my phone. The type of professional marching band where people that are in these various groups, marching groups from all over the U.S., go and perform these insanely powerful sounding music, and they march in these incredible formations, and if you see videos of how they train for that, it is some next level stuff to where just like going super exercise to the wall, and like it's just it's insane. And people from my some of my friends that were in high school managed to do that for a couple times, and it was an insane experience. I also wanted to do it, but I joined a little bit too late and I couldn't do it. So yeah, Drum Corps International. I still love watching them. I still have, I think, a couple of DVDs of two particular shows that I love to watch. And yeah, that was a fun time in band, and in marching band. In sophomore year, I finally made it to the drum line, but I was the bass drum, and it was the biggest bass. It was the biggest bass to where it was like the largest one, and it had made the loudest noise, and it was the heaviest thing to ever put on your body. But I managed to get through it, and never really had severe back pain, not yet, but yeah. Then the year after that, I finally went in to play snare drum, and also became the section leader of my junior year. And I will tell you, I was not really cut out to be the section leader. I had little control over the line or the group. It was a little bit more dawning to take over than I thought. And next year I decided to like, nah, don't want to do it anymore. And someone else did it with a little bit better fortitude than I did. Because yeah, I'm not much of a leader. I would say I'm more focused on performing than trying to lead an entire group. um, but yeah, we had a fun time. Band was pretty much one of the best experiences of high school that I ever had. Because everything else about high school is kind of daunting, and it was not the greatest, especially trying to fit in and all that stuff. So yeah, band was definitely the best part of my high school experience. Then after high school came college, and I went to UNT, and which is University of North Texas, and I was studying mechanical engineering because I like to tinker and stuff like that. And then I was like, why don't I try out for band? Because I still have my band roots. I didn't want to really lose them. And before I graduated high school, I was learning tuba because I was interested in trying to, again, go to the drum corps and do tuba over there. And I played a little bit, and that was a fun time. I was able to like actually read the notes because one of the instruments that was playing in percussion had low bass clef notes to where I can actually read them. And after that, I was like, hey, might as well try out the tuba and see how good that felt. And and I went play tuba, and it was pretty good. It was like a very unique experience, and I liked it. Then after that, I went and play, and well, after that I graduated in 2010, and then went over to UNT, and then I went to audition for the percussion because I was mainly rooted in percussion. I played percussion for, at that time, about 6 years. No, 5 years. 5 years. I thought it was 6. No, it's 5. And then I went and auditioned, and come to find out that I didn't get the part. And I was like, darn, couldn't get the part. And then I was hanging out with all the other bandmates beforehand, just saying like, oh, what type of instruments do you play? It's like, I'm mainly here for percussion, but I played a bit of tuba. And I'm like, oh, that's okay, that's cool. Think about auditioning for tuba. It's like, I'm mainly in for the percussion. So I was like, okay. And then after auditions came out, it was done. I didn't make it for percussion. I was like, well. And I was walking away, and that same person I talked to beforehand, who happened to be one of the like drum corps leaders at that time, she came by and she's like, hey, remember you said you played tuba, right? It's like, yeah, I did say that. It's like, well, would you mind showing us what you can do as far as like see if we can try to join the team? And I was like, okay, sure, I'll see what I can do. And I went in and got myself a little sousaphone to audition with, and I played a bit, and turns out I was able to hold my own, and I managed to be in the marching band with very little auditioning expectation of being in the tuba section. So yay, turns out learning an extra skill helped me to be in the band. That was one of the wildest experiences I've ever had. But yeah, that was a very fun time though. It was a very fun time being able to play and march as a tuba player when all my life I've been playing and marching with the percussion. And then I managed to see the people who auditioned for percussion or the drum line came up, and they're like, yo, you were in a tuba? You played tuba? It's like, yeah, I played a bit, and somehow I was able to show them that I can decently do it. And they're like, oh, cool, cool. And then, okay. And then, oh man, that was a very fun time. It was a very fun time. But yeah, it was still it still blows my mind that I was able to still be in the band playing the tuba, uh, without even realize it. So yeah. Um, then after that, uh, I continued. Well, I went to UNT, found out I couldn't really do the crazy college life that I thought I would, so I went back home, um, lived with my mom, and went to a community college to study automotive technology, which is kind of what I've been wanting. Um, and after that, uh, just continued doing studies. Eventually, learned how to play fighting games, and then after that, eventually learned how to act. Then after that, continued my life just going about my business and listen to various music. And the various music I currently now listen to are still rock. I like, but okay, I can at least tell you, before I go into my list, I can at least say that my interest in rock has shifted tremendously, and I feel like it's a kind of a weird transition. Beforehand, I mainly was super into rock. I listened to very little of the classic rock because it was on the radio, or because, again, for my sister having the Queen album, um, I mainly just listened to rock from just like the music that I've listened to like in the 90s and in the early to mid 2000s. And after that, I continued listening to more and more rock. And then at a point, like I think 2012 or 13, I was like, the new rock isn't doing it for me. And I just kept going back and listening to the stuff I used to listen to until eventually it started going back further to the 80s and then further back to the 70s and then eventually going way back to the 60s with the Beatles. Oh boy, the Beatles could be a podcast discussion on its own, but I'll give you the quick skinny. So, in I think 2016 or 15, I was listening to iHeartRadio at the time, and they had this station called All Beatles. I think it was like All Beatles, I believe. And yeah, it was basically just them playing nonstop Beatles songs for like literally 24 hours. And I was like, and I like skimmed through it because there were some songs I liked. It's like, oh, okay, I remember that song and I remember that song. And then eventually I heard other songs that I heard that I didn't know was from them. I'm like, yo, they did this song? And then I heard songs I never heard before, like, oh, wow, that's an interesting song. To the point where I've been listening and just straight up listening to Beatles for almost 24 hours in itself for like literally weeks. And then I came to the point where I had my own Beatlemania, where I just listened nonstop to Beatles songs and eventually went to YouTube and looked and searched for the Beatles documentary. That's right, the documentary of how the Beatles came to be from the 1960s, starting out in Liverpool, England, and then all the way to their famed stardom, and then till they eventually got separated and did their last album in 1970. And it was like, I was super in, dude. I was super in to the Beatles, listening to the documentary, listening to everything about the Beatles, dude. It was insane. It was like super insane how into it I was. And the Beatles still run through my veins now. And I don't have Beatlemania anymore, but yeah, I will say that every time there's a Beatles song coming out, I was like, yeah, yeah, there it is, there he is. I know that song. I know. I won't say every song, but a good chunk of songs from the Beatles. So yeah, yeah, that was an interesting little journey back then. Because yeah, that lasted like 2 or 3 months of me just nonstop Beatles and just going and learning and trying to figure out how they came to be and wanting to learn more about them and stuff. And it was just insane. It was really insane. Um, yeah. Uh, Now going back to the list. Now I listen to a lot of rock, like like again it's from '60s now, all the way up to like the 2000s, and mid to late 2000s, but when I was in high school. And other type of genres of music that I like is jazz. I do like a bit of jazz, and there's a type of jazz I'm super interested in besides like smooth jazz, and it's called fusion jazz, which is insane. Like fusion jazz was something that I didn't really know existed until heard a couple of songs from bands that are classified as jazz, fusion jazz, and yeah, it blew my mind, and I never looked back since. And it was insane. I loved it. I really loved it. Um, some of the songs or groups that I like to mention are Casiopea. Uh, I do albums. Uh, they do an album known. One of the albums is 4x4. No, 8x8. I think it's either 4x4 or 8x8. And another album that's I liked a lot is uh, B. Yeah, that's BE from Casiopea. That's one of my favorite albums. And yeah, they're really good. And also T Square. T Square kind of like the rival um, band for Casiopea, which is basically the same style of music, but it's more Gran Turismo esque, and it was really nice. It's really nice, and I love both of them. I lean slightly more to Cassiopeia since I've listened to them more, but T Square is also nice too. Um, and then there are other jazz songs, the jazz fusion songs that are really cool. Um, there's also one Spain from I think Chikiro P. Basically, if you look up on YouTube and search the YouTube video "The Lick," which entails this dude playing Mario, I believe Mario 8, and hearing the one stage that has like crazy saxophone solo, and he hears a certain part of that saxophone solo, brings out his own alto sax and just plays that little lick in that song, and then eventually he comes to his performance in the stage, and he plays that lick for the song Spain, and yeah, turns out it's a very similar lick. And yeah, it's a very nice song. Everyone knows about the lick in that song, even though I mainly like the melody of the I guess chorus type song, and it's a nice awesome song that everyone should listen to, even though it's like 6 to 7 minutes long. It's a long song. uh, what else? What else about music? We're about to hit the 30-minute mark. Uh, I wonder. Is that all we can talk about music? No, I'm an idiot because there's more. There's more things I want to talk about. Um, I want to say that one of my all-time favorite bands out there. There's a couple of them that I want to mention, and they are, I believe, still making music to this day. One of my all-time favorite bands out there, Alter Bridge. If you guys ever heard of Alter Bridge, check them out. They're a really, really good rock band. Um, it is the lead singer, Miles Kennedy, is a fantastic singer. With one of the guitarists, Mike Chirotti, I believe. I can't really say his last name, but Mark, who happens to be the one of the guitarists from Creed, who which Creed is. I don't mind Creed. I don't mind Creed. It's a nice, it's an alright band. I like certain songs from them, but I can understand why it's not a fan favorite for most. Um, let's see. Yeah. Alter Bridge still is one of my favorite bands. Like it is up there, still top three in my favorite bands. Um, let's see. There's a song that I like from it that really, truly made me love them even more. It is a song called, if I remember, uh, "Words Darker Than the Wings." I believe that's the name of the song. If not, check out the live. If you check out Alter Bridge and see live version of "Words Darker Than the Wings," I believe, then you'll see the most incredible live performance that I might think that you ever see as far as a rock concert. It's insane. I love it so much. Um, Now, my second favorite rock band that I love is, of course, Foo Fighters, with Dave Grohl himself, former drummer of Nirvana, which happens to be one of my sister's favorite bands as well. But yeah, Foo Fighters is still my all-time favorite. I still listen to I think the last album that I listened to, I think back in 2013, was All Wasting Light or Wasting Light. It's like still I feel like one of their best albums out there. They had songs like uh dang it, why am I blanking on their songs? Like my brain wants to sing the songs, but I can't because it's copyrighted. um, they have Rope. I believe that one of the songs is Rope. They have a song is Learn to Walk, or just a song Walk. I believe this song is Walk. And then they have their classic songs like Everlong, um, Make Learn to Fly, and then all the other classic ones. And The Pretender, that's still one of my favorites. Which the music video kind of predicted 2020. Crazy. All right, so that's that. I guess I should say my new announcement just happened in me about before this recording of this podcast. One of my favorite bands listening up in high school, System of a Down. System of a Down was was the type of music that I was listening to back in high school, and it is still crazy, like very interesting, like musically type done rock songs, and I really like it. And it turns out they are not dead. The band is still kicking, and just now released a new album. They released a new album. If you go over to their Twitter, you should it'll definitely pop up. I believe it's pinned. If not, you can definitely check out their link on their header to check out their newest album. And it's dealing with the type of propaganda that's happening. I forget where. That's unfortunate. I should know this, but yeah, it's they're back and they're speaking louder than ever, especially with this type of situation we have going on. And I feel like that is an awesome news to have. Just one of my favorite high school bands, just coming back after 15 years of releasing their album, coming out still as awesome as I remember them. So yeah, that's a good note to end this episode on. Thank you guys so much for watching, and yeah, hopefully you guys can have some type of music that you call your own. Have a nice chill song to listen to. Have a nice insane song to just bang your head, or just anywhere in between to just listen and get you in whatever mood you want to be in. So that's basically what music's all about. Again, hope you guys have a good listen, have a good night, and hope to see you guys next time. Take care, guys.